Hi, my name is Valeria Jaro and I am doing my presentation on Dia de los Muertos for my Communications 103 class at Southwestern College. So today, like I said, I'm going to be talking to you about Dia de los Muertos. So in Mexican culture, there's a celebration called Dia de los Muertos that starts on November 2nd. But between Mexican families, they start the celebration on November 1st to celebrate the day for people who died before being baptized, or kids who died, young, and that's called Dia de los Santos Inocentes. That's when the celebration starts between, the actual Mexican tradition. So if anybody has ever been interested in Mexican culture, this is a really good, really good tradition to start with. It's very open. It's very easy to understand, and it's very big in Mexican culture. So I was introduced to this tradition when I was younger because I do come from a Mexican household, and I didn't really go into depth into it, but I did learn about it and I did celebrate it, but not as much as everybody else does, because it is a really big celebration that happens in some other countries, kind of like in Mexico City and in small towns between the cities. It's very, very highly celebrated. So today I'm going to be talking about the reasons why this tradition exists, and it may seem a little disrespectful to other traditions, or in other people's eyes who are Mexican, they might think that it's a really weird tradition to follow, or it's disrespectful to people who passed away, making a party about it. But it's more to it than what people may think. So the main points that I'm going to be talking about today are the reason behind the celebration, the tradition within the celebration, the behaviors of the people who are celebrating, and the importance of it overall in Mexican culture. So one of the things that make Dia de los Muertos a special celebration is the way it makes people see death. So during Dia de los Muertos celebration, it's a time not to mourn, but to celebrate the lives of the people that passed away. So it's not necessarily celebrating the fact that they passed away, but celebrating the happiness that they lived here with us and the time that we got to spend with them, and get to know those people. So it makes death a cause for a celebration rather than grief. So you make it a something to remember your loved ones by, the things they loved and the time that they were with us and they were present. So during the celebration, what is believed to happen is that on October 31st, the gates of heaven open and they let people visit, the earth freely for 24 hours. And basically what happens is you make a shrine and you put up the pictures of the people you want to visit you, and you use the flores de cempasúchil, which are the orange flowers I usually see. Those are really meaningful because those are supposed to be the gates. That's supposed to be the way that they use to walk, because without those they can't really walk towards over here, or so it's believed. And like you put their favorite foods up, you put their favorite drinks and all of those things, but we'll get more into it later. So that happens on October 31st for November 1st for Dia de los Inocentes, and then it happens again for November 2nd for all of the adults that have passed away too. So the celebration, although it has many different ways to be celebrated because every family celebrates it a different way, the more traditional form is by going to a cemetery with other families. Some people rent bands, some people bring foods, some people bring fireworks, flowers, everything you can think of. And everybody puts their altars up, they put the pictures of their loved ones, and they make sure to remember them and celebrate the lives that they lived. And it's just a very, very big party. It's like a big celebration, and you celebrate with other people, and you don't necessarily have to know them, but you know why they're there, and everybody's just having a great time. So in the celebration, the most important part obviously is the altar, which is to welcome people in, and it comes with many details in it. Like I said, it has the flower of cempasúchil, which is something very important. It has the pictures. Those are very important because those are supposed to be significant of who you want to visit you. The food is just basically to help the people, give it to their loved ones. For example, if your loved one like a certain type of alcohol, you leave them that alcohol, but you have to leave it open. And if they like, smoked, you would you would light up one of the cigarettes and leave one lit up, and then you would leave the box open so that they could, enjoy the treats that they liked when they were living. But that's all for the people who are, no longer with us. So during Dia de los Muertos, it's a time to be joyful. So the behaviors of the people are basically that you need to celebrate the loved ones, and although it is a party, it's a time to be respectful of death. And after our lives finish, it is a new chapter. That's how it was looked at before. So during this time, the people don't act in a way where they're upset of the loss of their loved ones, or they're joyful for the lives that they lived, and they are grateful to have been able to be there for the time that they spent with them. Something that's very known in this tradition, it's people dressing up, people painting their faces, people being very gallant about everything they do. And that's because when the celebration was started years ago, death is seen like as a higher level of consciousness for people. So you don't die and then that's it, like you lost your life and that's it. It's seen as something more beautiful. It's seen as something like, it's like another chapter of life, just like death, birth, aging. That's how death is seen, like as a chapter, the next chapter of life. So it's like growing older into a different realm, So my fourth point is the tradition of the celebration is very important to Mexican people, and the importance is based on the culture. So the culture in this is very strong because it shows like the belief system that the Mexican culture has. So it's celebrated throughout like all Latin America, but it is mostly connected to Mexico because that's where it started, that's where it originated. And so the tradition started with the Spanish conquistadors came into Mexico and they started building land. That's when they started this whole like celebration. So it's very, very, very long ago. It's nothing very recent. So the celebration, it's very prominent for people, to celebrate it. And like I said, it might seem a little disrespectful to some people in other cultures. There's some other cultures in Mexico where they do some they mourn, and they do things to let people know that have died, that they're upset about losing them. But so they sometimes think like, oh, that's a very weird celebration, why would you celebrate the death of a loved one? Well, because you want to let them know that you were grateful for the time that you had with them. And so for my conclusion in this speech, basically I talked about the celebration of Dia de los Muertos, and how it is celebrated and why it is important in Mexican culture. I went the reasoning behind the celebration, the traditions within the celebration, the behaviors of the people that take a part of the celebration, and the importance of it in Mexican culture. So a reason to remember this is that if you ever plan to celebrate Dia de los Muertos, you will find a beautiful tradition and something that is seen as sad in our society. You'll see it as something a little less sad and as something else a little more beautiful. And it's not like you'll wish death upon anybody, but you'll see it as something better than it is seen as. You'll remember the people that you lost in a really good way. You'll remember them as in the ways that you left them. So that was my presentation. Thank you for listening to me, and